WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Well, good afternoon. It is so good to be here with you this afternoon. It's 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. Thank you so much for joining us. My, what a lovely day it is. And what a lovely day it was yesterday for Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day to all of those wonderful, wonderful mothers, would-be mothers, godmothers, grandmothers, all those mothers who should have been mothers but couldn't, but were mothers anyway to somebody. So somebody was a mother to somebody. So we thank you for doing all you have done to be a great, great role model and a mother to all those who needed to have mothers in their lives. We're glad to be with you today. I've got a special guest saying, and you know who he is, but I'm not going to introduce him yet. First of all, I have to tell you that yesterday, Mother's Day, my grandson, Cranston Cardell Young, joined church. I'm just so excited. I was thrilled when he started walking down the aisle. I said, "What? That looks like my baby." So, I went running down the aisle. It was a wonderful day at church yesterday. What a gift for Mother's Day. What a gift for Mother's Day. So, I'm just over the moon with excitement, and his mother is probably twice over the moon with excitement. So it was a really, really, really good day, a really good Mother's Day to say he has gotten covered with the blood of Jesus on Mother's Day. I am so happy. He's going to be going away to college. I wanted to make sure that when he left here, he was covered. We need to have all the coverage we can with these babies, and that's special. That is special. So congratulations, Mr. Cranston Cardell Young II, for joining church on yesterday, and he'll be baptized the first Sunday in June, on June the 1st. And how about that? And he graduates from high school on June the 2nd. So good news, good news, good news, good news. So now for my special guest, and you've seen him before, but our guest today, of course, it's second Monday in the month. So it must be Real Estate Monday. Ken Scott, are you there
I am.
to talk about Real Estate Monday with us and
I
all
am.
the
How are
things?
you?
I'm wonderful. How are you this lovely day?
Real good. Happy belated Mother's Day.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful day. Thank you. Thank
Good.
you. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. But I want to know, first of all, how's everything going with our home buyers
Club.
seminar?
Detroit Home Buyers Club.
Thank you. Detroit Home Buyers Club. Get the right title. Okay.
It
Detroit
is
Home
going
Buyers Club.
excellent. Matter of fact, our first one was squeezed in between Good Friday and Easter,
Uh-huh.
which I can't tell you how stressed I was, given the fact that I didn't look at the date to see if it was around the holiday.
Yeah, and that's a real special holiday when you
That's a
talk
real
Good
special
Friday
holiday, but we had some
and Holy
dedicated people
Week
came
and
out.
everything.
We had some dedicated and committed people come out,
Did
and
you? Great.
we expect them back this Saturday, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wonderful. So
yeah.
what kinds of things did they ask about at that home buyers club seminar?
Well, we're going through a number of stages.
Uh-huh.
Gathering your identification and financial documents, starting a checking account, um, budgeting, becoming credit worthy, mortgage ready, and accessing all the down payment assistance that's out there to make home ownership affordable. So we're doing all of that to get people in a position of home ownership. Um, the city of Detroit has undergone a reduction in home ownership from blacks, and one
At
of the
one
things that
time, we were probably had the greatest number of African American home ownership in the country.
absolutely at our greatest height in 1970, we were at 60%.
Wow,
Now
that's a
we're
huge number.
now we're hovering between 45 and 48%.
Wow.
So one of the things that we want to do is at least make up some difference in the next few months leading up to December 31st, where we increase black home ownership in 5 respective communities, but in all communities within the city of Detroit. Anyone that's wanting to participate, wants to gather knowledge, wants to take advantage of the experience that myself as well as others have as far as mortgage lending, banking, whatever the case may be. Hopefully, those individuals can come out this Saturday from 9:30 to 1 o'clock at the Johnson Recreation Center, located at 8550 Chippewa in Northwest Detroit, right between Livernois and Wyoming, Pembroke
Mhm.
and 8 Mile.
Yep. Excellent. Excellent. So when you had your first seminar, what kinds of questions were most prevalent among the people who attended?
First and foremost, they didn't know that the gathering of documents, not only of themselves, the financial and identification documents from their members in the household were important. Like if you have an adult living with you, or you're not married, or whatever the case may be, uh, you have to gather that person's income as well as their financial documents to make sure that you're eligible for the mortgage that you've applied for, as well as the down payment assistance that you may be eligible for as well.
And I know this is probably a question that I hope it doesn't sound silly, but you've got two
There
people.
are no silly questions. We
And
make
I
that
should
up
know
front.
that. You're absolutely right. But you've got two people living in the same household. They are not married.
Mhm,
They want to buy a house.
mhm.
I
Do
mean,
they? The question is, do
how
they
does
want
that
to buy
work?
one together?
How does that work? If they can buy it together or they can buy it separately. Is that it?
Correct. I mean, each one
And
is
how
going to
do you
be.
buy it together if you're not married? I don't.
Say that one more time.
How do you buy it together if you're not married?
Oh, you can definitely be on the deed together.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you're buying as a married couple, but at the same time, there are a number of joint um, ownership processes, joint rights of entirety, joint rights of with survivorship, tenants in common, whatever the case may be. But regardless of that situation, all of you are listed on that mortgage and on the closing papers. So you all both are responsible for paying that mortgage.
And given that, then both of your credit histories and all of that are a part of the package.
Absolutely, absolutely. In one instance, though, Michigan State Housing Development Authority had made it possible where the one person may not have to submit that information, but at the same time still be eligible for home ownership. That primary person still be eligible for home ownership.
So as long as you're using that second person's income to justify the amount of mortgage you're going to get, that person has to supply all of the same documents that number one person would have to supply. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Or
Okay.
it could be done on the merits of that one person, that primary homeowner.
But suppose the primary homeowner's income doesn't justify the amount of money.
Then they would have to do something in conjunction with that second person, or risk being denied.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's something that people don't even think about when they decide they want to buy a house.
Yeah.
I want to buy a house. We make enough money. But if we don't have the right credit score and we don't have the proper information and documentation,
And,
we cannot buy this house. I can't.
exactly.
We can't.
And, you know, and in actuality, I'm glad you brought that scenario up, because if one person's credit score is lower than the other one, but you all are paying the same bills, why aren't you all putting that bill in that both persons' names? That way, you elevate, or what does it say? Rising tide lifts all boats.
Mhm.
It's usually one person is lower and one person is higher. But if you're paying the same utilities and same expenses, why not be on there at the same time and list that as a trade line that both your names are on and both of you are benefiting because of?
Makes sense.
Yeah,
It makes good sense. Good
correct.
sense. What other kinds of things do people ask about in these seminars as they begin to go through the process of thinking about buying a house?
Hmm. The tax implications. The They always ask about what credit score is obviously
Mhm.
credit worthy. What type of mortgages are out there? Does the credit score have to be 620, 640? And
And
not necessarily so. Pardon
does
me?
it does it have to be 620 or
It
640?
can be 580. And one thing that I've always said to people that were seeking home ownership, if you have paid your bills on time for the last 12 to 24 months, then I can find a mortgage for you. But at the same time, you have to show that consistency, that discipline, in order to purchase a home. Because what they're looking at is your payment history, how much you owe, the length of your credit cards, how long they've been established, how many inquiries you have, what is a good mix of credit versus of revolving and installment credit. And then the new animal out there is non-traditional credit, where they're using your rent payments, utilities, bank statements. I mean, not bank statements, but cable bills and cell phone bills, as well as any other things that you're paying, including your car note and your car insurance.
And what's that other thing we asked you about before? A firm. Are they using a firm? Is a firm?
Lord have mercy.
You want to have a drink now? When I asked you about a firm.
It's not strong enough. It's not strong enough. Um, but no, that is one of the means to either become either credit worthy or mortgage ready. But at the same time, you don't know these things, so you have to come to the experts.
There you go.
Stop going to Pookie and Ray Ray.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they may not have the right answer. They'll have an answer
Well,
for you.
Pookie and Ray
but
Ray
it
can
may
get you
not
in
be the right
trouble too.
answer.
Pookie and Ray Ray can get you in trouble too.
Yeah, that I'm talking about. Wrong answer. Wrong
Okay.
answer usually gets you in trouble.
Yeah,
Wrong
you want to go to Edna and Ken.
Well, tell me, in terms of the people who are looking to purchase a home,
Mhm.
do you share with them the areas? Because there are areas in the city that are designated for reduced taxes. Is it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I let them know that. In most cases, they're looking in those areas anyway.
Okay.
The area, the tax that you're referring to, or the tax implications that you're referring to,
Oh,
is the neighborhood enterprise tax.
yes. Yes.
Uh, we call it the NEZ,
Mm-hmm.
of which, if you live in certain subdivisions within the city of Detroit, within all 7 districts, actually now, where it wasn't before, you can have a reduction of 20% if you're living in those areas.
That's significant.
Yeah, the only
20%.
thing you have to do is supply your deed,
Uh-huh.
as well as $500 worth of repairs that you've done, whether it be snow removal, grass cutting, whatever the case may be, and you would be eligible for that 20% reduction.
That's significant. That's great.
Yeah, it is. I mean, in most cases, those are the most desirable areas within the city of Detroit from a buyer standpoint.
Yeah.
However, there are other tax implications that are in some of those areas, as well as some of those adjacent areas that may offer even more.
Really? Like what?
So you just have to be aware of those
What are some of those
things.
examples?
There's certain areas where the household numbers aren't what they should be, or are not as high as they should be.
When you say household
You
number,
might live
household
in
number.
an underserved community, huh?
Okay. When you say household numbers, what do you mean when you say household numbers?
Meaning that the percentage of home ownership is not good in that area. It
Okay.
may be in a low census tract area.
Hmm.
It may be in a blighted area
Okay.
where that area is up and coming.
Hmm.
There are other tax incentives that are available, but at the same time, most people don't know because they don't attend home buying seminars like ours.
Okay. So you do share that kind of information
Without a doubt.
with people, because
Yeah,
that's really important for them.
yeah. I
People
mean,
to know the
because
institution.
anything that can make home ownership accessible and more affordable, that's what we share.
That is important. What about if there are homes that need to be are kind of what we call fixer uppers? Are
Uh,
there dollars for those also? And do you talk about that in your home buyer seminar?
we will be. That process hadn't come up because we haven't reached that month yet.
Hmm.
But at the same time, there are renovation loans out there from Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Federal Home Loan Bank, a HUD, 203K. All those
Hold
renovation.
on. Wait, stop. What's 203K?
FHA 203K is a two-part mortgage loan where one part you're acquiring the property, the other part is you're doing the renovation of the property, and is combined in one mortgage. It is one of the best tools out there to resolve deficiencies in a home. When I started in real estate, that was my primary focus, to buy homes in I'm talking about from a buyer standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer buys the home. It's in a desirable neighborhood. However, it's lacked functionality, or lacked
Dilapidated.
appeal, right? Dilapidated, however you want to say it. All right. It needs a new roof. It needs new windows. It needs new kitchen. It
Can
needs
can
new
the lawn
mechanic.
can the lawn be included in that? Is that a part of the house? Can if you need to do something with the yard in the back and the front to make it desirable, is that considered a part of the house?
In actuality, yes. Nobody has ever brought that up, and I don't understand why. But at the same time, that is one of the things that makes the house appealing to most people.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's based on the curb appeal.
Yes.
The curb appeal is probably 30% of the sale itself.
Mhm.
Because keep in mind, what's the first thing that you see?
The curb.
The front of the house in the grass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If that's good, and unfortunately all hell is breaking loose inside, you can remedy that
Mhm.
by the 203K, the Fannie Mae Home Style, or the Freddie Mac Choice Renovation. You can remedy that by, first and foremost, HUD wants you to focus in on the mechanicals. They want you to focus in on the electrical panel, the plumbing, the furnace, and the hot water tank. Then they want you to focus in on the weatherization, whether it be the roof, the walls, the windows, the doors, or whatever the case may be. And then after all of that, you can focus in on the kitchen, the bathrooms. You can even add a half bath or a full bath in the basement, or if any other room is allotted, as well as knock down some trees, add a garage, whether it be one car, two car, whatever the case may be. The only thing you can't do,
And redo the lawn
and redo the lawn
and a driveway
and a driveway.
and all of
The
that.
only thing
be
you
included.
can't do, in the one stipulation that HUD has, is that you can't do a pool, or I don't even know if you can do a deck, but I know you can't do a pool.
Well, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand.
Because that's for
That's-
entertainment purposes and what
That's
have
great that you can actually do the lawn and the driveway. That makes a huge difference
you. Absolutely.
in
Absolutely. And
attractive.
you're right. Okay. I look, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I've never really focused in on it myself. But at the same time, most of the homes that are not selling
Mhm.
don't have that curb appeal, aren't in the most desirable neighborhoods. However, that could be an attribute that, if they did the lawn, could add to the value of that community.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you brought that, because I will put that in my the plans for tomorrow.
Good.
I would definitely put that in my plans for tomorrow.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
And the reason being is, the reason I never include it is because in most cases it's there already.
Okay.
Or we're focusing so much on the frontage of the home and the interior of the home that we don't focus in on the exterior of the home.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like I said, that's 30% of the value right there, because there are certain communities that are thriving communities. They made it through the foreclosure crisis. They made it through bankruptcy. They made it through all whatever else. But at the same time, they're the ones that stay on the market the longest, because those are neighborhoods that aren't desirable.
Mhm.
And what would make them even more desirable would be the fixing up of the exterior, or creating a lawn, or creating shrubbery or flowers, um, uh, driveway, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that to me makes a huge difference in whether I'm gonna look at a house or not. That first impression is what does the lawn look like? Does it have
Right,
some shrub? Does it have some flowers? Or is it just green and cut?
right,
Or does it have grass at all?
exactly. And I'll give you a good example. You look at those neighborhoods that are north of 8 Mile, west of Telegraph, east of Kelly, south of Paul, those exterior neighborhoods, those suburban neighborhoods. People that flock to those to just, I mean, flock to them in droves.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is they flock there not realizing the value in the city of Detroit. And there's a lot of value in the city of Detroit. One of the things that I wanted to make note of was the fact that the reason why the garage is not present in the city as much as it was before is, first and foremost, it was a security issue. Our insurance went up after the garages were knocked down, but the reason why the garages were knocked down was FHA came into urban areas and said, "Listen, either you fix the garage or you tear it down." And unfortunately, we took the latter.
And they weren't providing money to fix it,
They weren't providing money to fix it,
but
but at
they
the
were gonna
same time,
penalize you for
we
not
weren't
doing it.
knowledgeable enough to say, "Listen, in order for us to keep it, we also have to realize the value in reducing the insurance rates in our respective communities. If we kept the garage up, embraced it, or whatever the case may be, added electrical, added opener, or whatever the case may be, we would have undergone a reduction in our insurance rates. But since we knocked it down and what have you, and we're parking in the driveway, or we're parking in a slab, or we're parking on dirt, then that gives a person more chance to steal your car, or whatever the case may be. My reason for bringing up the exterior of the suburban communities is, although they have the driveway and everything, they may have the garage, but at the same time, at least it's there. And it adds to the stability of the area as well as the security of the area.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and this is, my personal belief is that a lot of those regulations were deliberately put in place
Yes, they
to
were.
um, prevent persons of color from getting insurance at decent rates, from
And a
being
good
able
example of
to
that
live.
is the Burwood Wall.
Absolutely.
Over there in that same very area that we're hosting the Detroit Home Buyers Club workshops, is the fact that on one side of the wall between Mendota and Burwood,
Hmm.
from Pembroke to 8 Mile, whites were living on one side, blacks were living on the other,
Yes, and the mortgage rates were different.
and the
The
mortgage rates were
insurance rates
different.
were different.
It
If
was,
you could even get a mortgage, if
and
you
if
could
it was,
afford
and it was FHA
it. Mhm.
that
Same
restricted
people.
that,
Yep.
that had them knock down the garage because it didn't fit within their guidelines.
Yep.
Okay, so that same entity was present at that time, but at the same time, now in this present state, people have offered different means to gain home ownership in the black community, and now we don't have so many impediments to the point where home ownership is affordable and accessible.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I remember when they started building the new homes on Wyoming
right,
between 8 Mile and Pembroke.
exactly,
Different ball game. Beautiful ranch homes,
exactly.
beautiful homes over there. And
And
many of the people who were moving into those homes
mhm,
had previously lived in Royal Oak Township in the
very
project,
much so.
right on
Very
the other
much so.
side of 8 Mile.
And the crazy thing is those neighborhoods that have attracted blacks out of the city of Detroit look that way because they're new. If the black community had invested south of 8 Mile, east of Telegraph, west of Kelly, and north of Ford, their homes would have looked like that too.
And I'm not going to blame this on the black community. I'm going to blame this on the powers that be, who were not necessarily black, and blacks didn't control the determinations as to what those neighborhoods look like. They deliberately let those neighborhoods dilapidate so that they could sell to them in other areas.
Well, I
Because
mean,
the
that's
homes that
true of
they
the
were buying in
foreclosure
those
crisis.
other areas didn't look any better and weren't in any better shape than the ones that were in Detroit.
But I say
Demolished
it like
them.
this, and I always go back and reflect back to this. When blacks are the majority, we have a tendency not to work together as much. When we're a minority, we work closer together. My point for bringing that up is if we have worked to stabilize our communities, clean up our communities, making sure that the school system was what it was, made sure that the insurance rates were reduced, make sure that education of our children is advanced, then we would have stayed in those neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods would have looked as pristine as we perceive the suburb schools and houses and commercial retail to look as well, because we're still lacking as far as having food deserts in our community. But at the same time, the moment we go 5, 10, 20 miles outside the city, we find everything that we're looking for, from perishable foods, from fruit, meats. But we can't find no draws in the city.
I'm going to challenge you on that.
All right, challenge
And
me.
I'm not going to blame that on the black community. I'm
No,
going to
I'm
blame that.
not blaming it on them. It was a
You
result of
just
it,
said
though.
if the black community
If-
had done A, B, C, and D, we wouldn't have been in this
oh,
situation.
absolutely,
I disagree
absolutely.
with that. If others had not done what they did, we wouldn't be in this situation. If they had not raised
But
rates
how
in
long?
insurance, if they had not raised some taxes, if they had not moved out of our communities, if they had better police protection, a
Okay,
lot of this would not
hold
have
on. Oh, I'm so glad you raised this topic.
happened. Yes, so you know
I'm
you
so glad
raised.
you raised this
I'm just
topic.
saying, I disagree with you on
Oh, you can disagree, but
the
you
victim
can just
for
hold
what
on. You can disagree, but the facts are there. The facts are there, and I'll give you a very good example.
Okay.
And I use this example on a regular basis when people use your argument.
Okay. I'm
What was it?
listening.
3 years prior to me and my family coming to Michigan, there was a thing called the Detroit riot.
Yeah, I was a part of it. I was in the middle of it. In
Okay,
the middle of it.
right. I'm glad you cited that example. The reason why I bring it up is in 1967, that area that was affected by the riots,
Mm-hmm.
that was decimated by the riots.
Yes.
58 years later, that area remains the same.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. It may have been done by others, but the ones that resided there, that stayed there, that constantly saw the reminders of it 58 years later, have not cleaned that neighborhood up, rehabbed that neighborhood, redeveloped that neighborhood. And I'm telling you, those others that saw it like that want to keep that example in the neighborhood to show you that it may have been us that did it, but 58 years later, you haven't corrected it.
Are you done?
Give me a second.
Okay. Okay.
And keep in mind, that's the case in a lot of areas of the city of Detroit. They say Detroit is a city of blocks. There's a good block, there's a medium block, and there's a bad block.
We agree.
Okay. There are neighborhoods that, if we're cleaned up, well maintained, and secured, we wouldn't be talking about migrating on either side of those suburbs that I mentioned. We would have had good schools in our community. And I'm not blaming this solely on black people.
Thank you.
I'm not blaming this solely on black people.
Thank you.
But we are a contributing force.
However,
but at the same time, the mindset now is to correct a lot of those deficiencies, those situations that once happened, and make our community reflective of what we want it to be. And in doing so, you see a constant revolution that's happening with investors, developers, what have you, that are going into our neighborhoods, seeing the deficiencies, seeing the blight, seeing the disenfranchisement of other individuals, and just correcting that to the point where it's viable choice now to live. In a lot of cases, though, however, one of the bad attributes of that is gentrification. And I can give you two examples. My neighborhood, which is Green Acres, and another neighborhood to the west, which is Bagley. For a long time, our neighborhoods were going at 150 before they were discovered. Now that they're discovered,
like they were lost someplace.
Yeah, like they were discovered. Somebody took a ride down Livernois and said, "Ooh, I didn't know this neighborhood looked like this." And it's both neighborhoods are kind of like mini university districts.
Yes.
Okay, they have the good architecture and good styling maintained throughout the years and what have you. They got discovered.
Yes, I know.
And now what used to be 150 could be easily going for 450.
Yes.
Okay. So that's
they're paying cash for it.
They're paying cash out of it. Not only that, they have not only money to buy it, money to bring it up to a different standard, and still have equity in the house.
Yes.
Okay, because of the foreclosure crisis.
Yes.
The bankruptcy.
Yes.
The demolition of properties within the city of Detroit, which caused a deficit as far as housing.
Yes.
And what I've always stated.
And the banks lacking the backbone
to modify loans
as it relates to everybody. There are banks that ask me one thing and has the one person sitting next to me.
I
know all about that.
First and foremost,
play a big part of
every series of workshops that I do. I bring in the Fair Housing Center of Southeastern Michigan.
Yes.
To document.
They can tell you what
discriminatory practices.
Yes.
That have gone on in our respective communities.
And it's still going on.
But at the same time, the conversation that we have is, how do we increase Black home ownership despite those things? And because of those things,
well, we are increasing Black ownership.
We are increasing it, but not to the extent and not to the level that we should.
Not well.
Understand this. there's a difference, and there's a great disparity between blacks and others in home ownership.
Yes.
And one of the things that we
The biggest piece is that the
articulate
banks treat us differently.
at every workshop,
The banks treat us differently. Bottom line.
understand this. At every workshop, we articulate the fact that although that situation persisted during that time, what are we doing presently to increase home ownership in these respective communities? What are we doing with the dollar that we've been entrusted in, the stewardship that we've had? What are we doing to pay our bills on time in order to position ourselves for home ownership? And what are we doing in our respective communities to make sure that we acquire equity as time goes on and leave that as a legacy or a creation of generational wealth once we attain it? See, this is a social problem, a social program, as much as it is an economic program. And that's one of the things that we highlight at our events.
It isn't new.
Pardon me?
It is not new.
No, it's not new. But at the same time, it requires discipline to maintain and sustain it.
Yes.
Okay. And that's one of the things that we highlight at our workshops.
And that's what you should be highlighting. I'm simply saying is that I'm not going to blame the victim for the situation they're in, because many of us are in situations not of our own making, but because there are others who want us to be in those situations.
But understand
no matter what you do, there are those who are going to put you in those situations still.
I understand that, but at some point in time, we have to have a heart-to-heart talk about what our accountability.
Oh, we absolutely have to have that conversation
in this process.
It has to be twofold. You can't just talk.
We can't let them be the scapegoats and not identify our own accountability and responsibility.
The conversation cannot be just me. It has to be we. So it has to be both sides. You can't have you got to do
nobody save us.
The other folks have to do what they're supposed to do also, and they're not doing it.
Ain't nobody can save us but us.
Affordable housing is the new injustice.
It is. It truly is. And we can go into great detail in that because I'm totally against it.
You totally against
it. Understand the way that affordable housing has been structured and encouraged in the city of Detroit, and I'll be the first one to say it publicly, is that you have made our people renters again, as opposed to homeowners again.
How many people?
Understand this. Let me say this one time. Let me say this first, okay?
You're my guest, so I'm going to let you talk.
I appreciate that. Okay. Let me say this. We don't have a land problem in the city of Detroit. 60% of the city of Detroit's land is totally underutilized. We don't have a land problem. We have a housing problem.
Yes,
a home ownership problem.
I agree.
Okay. And what we're utilizing it for, whether it be some solar farms or some trees, is not solving the issue of where people are going to live and if they're going to live within the city of Detroit.
Well, I'm not going to attack the solar farms. I will attack the trees, but I'm not going to attack the solar farms because there's nothing on that land anyway. I'm glad they're putting something on
there.
But
it could be a house.
Land that has nothing.
But it could be a house.
We got plenty of land to put houses on. It's not like we're taking up all the land on.
What did I preface it with?
We got plenty of land.
We got plenty of land, but 60% of it is underutilized.
Yes, we got.
Why are we going to put a solar farm when we can put more houses in that neighborhood? And hold on. And I'm not even talking about I'm
We
not even
still
talking about the
I
depressed.
drive this city all the time as you do. We've got so much land to put houses on.
Hold on,
But
hold on.
that cannot be
But what's the
any
plan?
reason for this kid.
But what's the
We
plan?
got land. Are you
What's the
telling me
plan?
there's not any land left to put houses on Detroit? We got plenty of land now. Come
I'm
on.
just saying that there's not enough contiguous land.
Yes, sir.
Detroit, hold on, listen.
We
Detroit
driving.
was built on a grid system.
Where I know where have
There
you
are
built
grids that
there
are
is not
vacant.
land to build a house on in Detroit?
There are
There's
grids
so much
that are
land.
vacant.
I need
There
to
are
take
grids that are vacant.
some of the
And
land
let
I
me
see.
hold on. Let me say this. This
Well,
is
we're about to run out of time because you made
I
me
know that's
talk about
right. This is on my the Facebook page, and I want to read this from my boy, and I say that in reverence. Reverence. This was done by Frederick Douglass. I don't know what year it was.
Okay, while you look that up, I'm
No.
gonna
I don't have to look it up. It's right in my face.
Okay.
It says power concedes nothing
Without
without a demand.
absolutely.
It never did,
And it
and
never
it never
will.
will. It says where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where any one class is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe.
We don't disagree on that.
Okay?
We agree
Understand this.
wholeheartedly.
We disagree that it's not our responsibility and we shouldn't be accountable.
Housing is something that we need to work on simply because it's the right thing to do. But it has to be housing
It's a
that people
necessity.
can afford.
It's a necessity.
You can't build a $400,000 house and expect everyday people to afford that. So it has to be housing that can be afforded, that you can afford.
No. I understand this.
And we can't let the folks get off the hook.
I don't assimilate housing.
Those houses that drive their interest rates up so high for us, and the interest rates isn't that high for other folk. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on, say.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you bring your point up and everything. I'm glad you get that out of your chest and everything.
Let
me say this. I don't assimilate Detroit housing with the $400,000 housing, $400 price house.
That's not Detroit. $400,000 for a house is not.
I assimilate with a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house, $1,200 to. On average, $1,200 to about $1,800.
1.5 bath, not one bath.
anyway, but is habitable.
Yes. Okay.
Has a roof over it.
Okay.
Has walls around it. Have a floor beneath it.
Yes.
If not a basement. And also, what we didn't bring up was the infrastructure, the sewer system working underneath it. The infrastructure
that's a whole
that the city of Detroit is highly deficient in, and it's going to take billions of dollars. It's going to take billions of dollars to correct it.
In that,
it's going to take billions of dollars to correct it.
Yep.
But at the same time, that should be a means to help individuals that have housing issues. And luckily, over the last few months, they have brought up the issue, and there is a program specifically to help individuals with deteriorating infrastructure and sewer system.
Yes.
But at the same time, from this point forward, contiguous properties in a grid system based on a viable neighborhood, based on a commercial retail district that serves the general public of that respective community.
Now that's what we need to work on.
Hold on. We're getting off topic.
I'm just saying.
And we need a new school. Matter of fact, their DPSCD is starting new schools now.
Yes,
in the respective communities.
Yes.
Okay. But at the same time, nobody talked to them about what they did to demolish the homes as well as take away from the community. They destroyed the communities by taking some of those schools out of the city.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are creating new
When you
and
say they,
building new
let me
schools.
tell you who the they are. I know who
I
the they
don't
are.
need to know who they are because I know who
It's,
they are.
it's important that you
And I
make,
think they need to
everybody
take
needs to know who the they
responsibility for
are,
that.
because you can't do what you're going to do if you don't know who did it to you. So you don't have them do it to you again.
What if you did it to yourself?
That's an issue. So you don't want to have that happen again either.
No doubt. I
But
agree
what
with
I'm
you.
telling you is that local Detroit people did not destroy the school system. There were folks who were looking for money that Detroit destroyed the school system, so that they could start charter schools and make money off the charter schools and take money away from
Well,
public
let me
schools.
say this.
So that they could control the public schools and destroy the people who were running them and did a doggone good job of running them.
Yes, absolutely. Let me say this.
So that wasn't us, that was they. So I just
Let me
want
say this.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, let me wrap this up and say
you talk too much, kid. I thought you talk too much.
to the audience of the Community Bell Show with Edna Bell.
Yes, sir.
The second Monday of every month
Yes.
is not just real estate.
That's right.
It's talking about us.
It's talking about us.
Okay. Y'all need to tune in.
This is true.
Every second Monday of the month.
Every time.
All right.
I'm so glad to have you.
All right. Thank you very
so
much for inviting me.
Good luck and wonderful success on those seminars coming up.
Come by Saturday.
Don't forget, everybody.
Come by Saturday.
Johnson Recreation Center this coming Saturday. What time again?
9:30 to 1 o'clock.
9:30 to 1 o'clock. Johnson Recreation Center. Everybody show up. You need this information.
Hi, Sandy. Hi,
It's
Larry.
on our website. It's on our website. So go to the website and take a look. Thanks, Ken. Have a good week. Take care.
Have a blessed one.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a
What a
blessed one.
pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit.
Detroit. Get ready. Two gospel music powerhouses are coming together for an unforgettable night of music and ministry. It's the annual fellowship featuring the Detroit Gospel Music Workshop of America and the Gospel Music Workshop according to Chicago Choir. It's happening Friday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. at Mount Zion Baptist Church, 3600 Van Dyke in Detroit. Come experience the anointed sounds of these two dynamic choirs under the direction of Dr. Michael Fletcher and Malcolm Williams. General seating is just $10 and VIP seating is $20. Get your tickets from any Detroit chapter member or on Eventbrite. Don't miss this divine night of praise. Visit gmwadetroit.org for more info. WVTC Detroit, where gospel live. Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.